This is a dream that I had a while ago. I was walking through the bayou with the moss sweeping across my face like crepe paper. So sweet the smell and the feel of so many tendrils. As I moved it with my hands, the trees were thick so as I could not see my past movements. It was comforting not knowing where I had been, only where I was going. I kept thinking perhaps there will be lemonade. I was rather thirsty in my trek. Just through the bent and gnarly trees, I could see a house. It was a white house with a southern style front porch. It was a wraparound porch and balcony, both just simple and beautiful. There were three stained glass windows on the peak. The middle was like any peaked half rectangular stained glass window. The two smaller ones were clear blue stained glass and circular. The image in the larger one was that of a sloppy design of a lake with lilies on it, and the front doors were sycamores stained a light brown. One could breathe the very air that this home breathed. The house was surrounded by a lake filled with lotuses, and off on a rather mossy patch of open grass was a white bench, and sitting on it was an elderly woman in a yellow hat, much like what was worn in the early 1920s. She was feeding the birds, Egyptian doves. She looked up and smiled at me, smiling so sweetly like a child. As she walked over to the front of the house, through the door, past the porch, swing, painted a patchy white, I noticed how old she really was. She must have been in her late 90s. I walked through the front lawn and up onto the porch, 10 steps behind her, careful not to trip on the steps. I pressed the handle on the screen door until I heard a click. Walking into the foyer with its purple pansies painted on the white walls, I heard a sound like pouring. I hoped it was lemonade. I could see into one of the rooms, most likely the living room. It was Moroccan style, and its low tables and exotic curtains. The foyer was so beautiful with the dark crimson of the borders that run all around the room. The borders, they were simply dark rose to be precise with an edge of papyrus brown. Also, the steps were a wonderful oak going to the kitchen. I noticed a collection of Civil War pistols in the glass and pine cabinet that lined the one wall. As I entered the Italian style modernized kitchen with its beautifully portrayed bold theme of bright yellow and blues and greens, I noticed that the door frame was perfectly aligned in color. She was sitting around a table with a chair pulled up for me. She had a smile painted across her face, much like the Mona Lisa, and there was lemonade sitting in a clear pitcher with a blue outline on its rim. There were even slices of lemon and lime in the pitcher. One of the glasses was full that she was drinking, and the other was sitting for me to drink. Sitting down, I poured myself a glass and then I waited. She took a drink from her glass and then looked up at me and said, with that curiously youthful smile, "Do you like the house?" I looked around the kitchen at the bold array and replied smoothly, "Yes." She just smiled and said, "Good. We built it together." I looked at her as if I knew what she meant, because I felt that I knew, but I didn't. Before I could ask, she simply replied, "You see, I'm your wife. Not now, at least, but in your time. I'm much younger then, and you'll find me." I looked questioningly. "Don't worry, you will." She placed a hand on mine to reassure me. Then she faded into a dreamlike nothingness, and the vision was over, like it had never happened.